Hey guys, and welcome back to I Like Watches Too. In this video I want to show you and talk about a couple of watches that I sent off to Grand Seiko in Japan a little while ago. Well, probably a year ago now. I've had them back for a little while. I've promised a few times to make this video because I've had a couple of people say to me, whatever happened to those watches you sent off to Grand Seiko for some work? Were you pleased with the work? Was the work any good? How much did it cost? So yeah, I think part of having a channel like this is actually to share this sort of stuff with you. So yeah, I'm going to show you the watches in a minute, but I'm first going to talk to you about the watches. The first one is my beloved Grand Seiko Spring Drive. I bought this prior to me having this YouTube channel. When I had a proper job, I treated myself. I'll come back to that one because there's a bit of a story behind that one. Some of you will know the story, some of you won't. Anyway, let me talk to you about the Credor first. So I bought this automatic Credor from Chrono24, and when it turned up, it wasn't in the best condition. I thought it was probably going to be better than it actually was. It needed a bit of a steel polish, a movement service, and when I sent it off to Grand Seiko for a quote, they came back to me and said it actually needs a new dial and new hands because the ones on the watch are in particularly poor condition. So I thought, yeah, why not? Let's get this watch in, well, as good a condition as possible because I think it carries it, to be honest. It's an automatic Credor, and generally those cost, well, in excess of £3,000, £4,000, even the super affordable automatic Credor watches. And I bought this watch for £1,000. I thought, if it costs me another £1,000 to get this into tip-top condition, I thought it would be worth it. And yeah, I sent it off with the Grand Seiko, and they did the work, and it came back. It did cost me around £1,000, and I'm pleased with it. It's nice. I'll show you this watch in a minute, but let me get back to this Grand Seiko. So I bought this watch prior to me having the YouTube channels, and yeah, it was a sort of grail watch. Spring drive movements, incredible. I love Seiko. I love Grand Seiko watches. I'm very into my steel finishing, and it just seemed to be you know, a marriage made in heaven. Grand Seiko watches are just impeccably well finished. And when I went into a jewelry store in Bluewater, maybe 5 years ago, and saw this watch in the window, it actually wasn't the watch I was there to see. I wanted to see the snowflake version of this, basically, the titanium watch. But this stole the show for me. I wasn't interested in the Snowflake Grand Seiko after seeing this. The sunburst dial, the champagne sunburst dial on this watch is probably one of the best, if not the best dial I have ever seen. Honestly, I wore this watch when I went to see Jake and Alex recently, and I think they were both really quite blown away with this watch. You have to see it in person to truly appreciate it. Well, let's turn the clock back about 4 years. I'd owned this watch for maybe a year, 18 months. I set up a YouTube channel, and I thought it would be a cool video to go down to a local pub, take a Guanchin watch with me along with this, and start asking some locals who'd had a couple of pints in them which watch they thought was the most expensive one. And it was good fun, and I got chatting to a few people, but then I approached a table with 2 or 3 guys on it, and as it turned out, they'd had maybe a couple more than just a couple of beers, and I handed both watches to one of the guys there, and he just started banging the watches together. At the time, obviously, I freaked out a little bit, got the watches back off him, but it was only when I got home I realised just how much damage had been done to the Grand Seiko. Honestly, my heart sank. I almost threw up. The whole side of the case and this bezel, which sort of culminates in a point, was dented. I did talk about it in a few videos, and I just stopped wearing the watch. It absolutely broke my heart. The watch was still running fine, but I mean, it was a tough lesson to learn. I've never gone back there to do the same sort of video. I did produce a video on it, but yeah, I mean, it was a stupid thing to do, and anyway, I never wore it after that. I just couldn't even look at it. It broke my heart so much to see this watch that I bought because I just loved how crisply it was finished. And of course, after that guy got his hands on it, it just looked a mess. So eventually I walked or just drove them. Seiko head office is only just down the road from me, and I booked an appointment to go and have a chat with them about it. And yeah, I took both watches, and they said, sure, we can send these off to Grand Seiko for quotes to get the work done. So I sent this watch off for a movement service and to have the case, the bezel, the bracelet, the clasp, and everything refinished. And yeah, I got the watch back a little while ago, and I'm really pleased with it. So I thought I'd show you what they've done and talk to you a little bit about the prices. Right, I'm going to start by showing you this beautiful Grand Seiko SBGA373, part of the Heritage lineup. I believe this watch retails, or it used to retail, for £4,700. I know Seiko and Grand Seiko put their prices up a little while ago. I'm not entirely sure what it retails for now. I went into the jewellers in Bluewater and asked for a 10% discount, and they gave it to me immediately. Maybe I should have asked for more, but I didn't. Anyway, I was happy to pay. Oh my goodness, I still can't believe it. £4,200 for this watch, and honestly, I think it's worth every single penny. This thing is just absolutely gorgeous. A 40mm spring drive powered watch. There's nothing about this watch that I dislike, and yeah, in certain lighting conditions, that dial just comes to life. The dial alone is worth the money, quite honestly. Yeah, love it. Just can't really see me ever getting rid of this watch. I suspect I'll own this for life, if I can afford to, that is. Anyway, let me just quickly talk about the damage that was done and the work that's then subsequently been done. So there were some dents on the outside of the case here, and some dents to this bezel, and actually you can just see the bezel sparkle a little bit. That is where I don't think they have completely removed the dents to the bezel, maybe even to the side of the case, but they got about 95% there. Which I'm more than happy with. Honestly, it looks $1 million compared to how it did look after that guy did what he did. So yeah, I think it's money well spent. And I've just checked my prices, actually, or the quotes, and I paid £700 in total, including VAT, to have the watch sent to Grand Seiko in Japan, to have the movement serviced, and to have the steel completely refinished on the case, the bracelet, and the clasp. I mean, I hadn't worn this watch much, so the bracelet and the clasp perhaps didn't need much doing to it. The watch was a few years old, so I think it benefited perhaps a little bit from having the movement serviced. Probably didn't need it, but as it's going to Japan, I just thought it was worth it. So to break down those costs, the movement service was £325 plus 20% VAT, and the case and bracelet refinish. And don't forget, this thing has had Zaratsu finishing done to it again. It's basically been finished by the Zaratsu polishing experts, and that was £258.33 plus VAT. I think that was money well spent. It's not money I should have ever had to spend, but I was the idiot that passed it to that guy, and yeah, serves me right, quite honestly. Right, let's take a look at this Credor. This actually cost a little bit more money. I don't know whether it's because it's a Credor, which is supposed to be an even more premium Seiko brand than Grand Seiko. Let me move the hands out the way. But yeah, the movement inside this is the 4L75. They only made this movement for 2 years. It's one of the reasons why I bought this watch, actually. It's a beautiful movement, although not what you'd expect in a Credor. I mean, Credor automatic watches are sometimes hundreds of thousands of pounds, and this just looks like a fairly, well, it looks like a Miyota 9015, doesn't it? But it isn't. It is a movement that they made, a sort of mid-tier, fairly premium-ish sort of Seiko movement that they made for a couple of years, I think 2006, 7 and 8. And they put a slightly upgraded version inside of some of their Credor watches, which is what this is, 4L75. They make a 4L25, which I've also got in a couple of Seiko Sara watches. Anyway, when it turned up, well, on this strap, a very cheap, unbranded strap. I've actually since bought a very nice Seiko strap for it, because I did get a quote off them, funnily enough, for a proper Credor strap with a Credor branded, can't stop rolling my R's, branded buckle, and they wanted £500 for that. £500 for a leather strap which has Credor underneath it and Credor on the buckle. So I said thanks, but no thanks. I think I'll just stick with it how it is. So yeah, and when it turned up, the case was a little bit, I wouldn't say damaged, a bit scratched up. I mean, the watch is, what, 15 years old now, and yeah, when it turned up, the case was a bit dull, and the hands and the dial, to be honest, were a bit dull, and there was just specks of dust all over this watch on the inside, so I suspect someone's opened it up at some point and not done a very good job of cleaning the dial and the underside of the crystal when they've put it all back together. So yeah, I thought I'd get it serviced. And yeah, they did a case refinish and they replaced the dial and hands. And this cost me a total of £1,050. And so the breakdown is movement, service and light polish of the case, £291 plus 20% VAT. Replacement dial and handset, £583 plus 20% VAT. So yeah, that comes to around £1,050, but it's looking like new now. I just need to find that nice strap that I had it on. So yeah, I'm very pleased with it. And again, it'll be a keeper, I suspect, for a very long time, unless I need to sell it for whatever reason. Right, let me know, guys, what you think of these watches. Was it money well spent? And how much of an idiot am I for handing this watch to drunk strangers? I can't wait to read the comments. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Any questions, let me know.